Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tom Cooper, Executive Director, Sandestin Owners Association. Welcome to our second quarter managers moment. We have guests with us today in the background. You can't see them because of our backdrop, but we have from Sandestin Real Estate and Commercial Leasing, we have Kitty Whitney, and we also have Kitty's back there somewhere.
Hey.
And we have Adam Polini, who's new to the Sandestin team. They're going to join us here. They're here for questions, and if I misspeak, they're certainly going to jump in. So what we're going to do is we're going to share today's screen with you. This is going to be recorded. Okay, there we go. It is being recorded. We're going to offer this. It's going to be available on the website after Zoom does what it does with all the recordings in the cloud, and we'll certainly post this if you need to reference it at a later time. As always, if you have any questions, please type them in the Zoom box at the bottom. We'll get to the end. If you don't have the ability to do the Zoom typing, you can also take the questions if you just raise your hand. We'll recognize you there. So we'll get started. Today's topic is going to be the many relationships of the Sandestin Golf and Beach Resort. Excuse me. And if you know, if you've been here any length of time, or if you're a first-time viewer and you're a homeowner, you pull through the gate and you drive to your home and you don't recognize what goes on behind the scenes to make the magic happen here at Sandestin. And there's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of different relationships that make Sandestin what it is. And we just wanted to touch a little bit on that. We can probably talk for days about it. We don't have that much time, obviously, but what we'll do is we'll touch on some of the key factors that make Sandestin what it is. So if you've been around, you've probably heard acronyms. BWNA is the Village of Baytown Wharf. DRI is the Development of Regional Impact. We'll talk about that later in the program. Sandestin Investments is SDI is Sandestin Investments. They're the developer, and they're also the resort operator. So as we go through the program here, keep those two things in mind: developer and resort operator. And of course, the SOA is Sandestin Owners Association. We are the master association for Sandestin homeowners. But what is BWNA? BWNA is the master association at the Village of Baytown Wharf. They're kind of our peers. They're not a member of the SOA in itself, BWNA. The owners of the two parts of BWNA are the members. But they're responsible for managing the common elements within the village, all the fun stuff, the fireworks, the Tuesday booming Tuesdays, and all the events that go on in the village that attracts guests and members and the motoring public to the property. And like I said, the owners in the village are the members of the SOA, but BWNA itself is not a member. So SDI is the developer of certain properties at Sandestin Golf and Beach Resort, and they also own the DRI. The DRI is basically the master plan of Sandestin, with the exception of the little part over on the west, which comprises Linkside and Augusta Village and Fairway. That's the PUD. But generally speaking, Sandestin is the development of regional impact. By virtue of being the owner of that DRI, SDI is currently, as far as I know, still the resort operator. So by being the resort operator, they also own and operate the majority of the amenities here on property, such as the marina, the beachfront, commercial spaces in the village, the comfort centers, the 4 golf courses and the putting facility, Hotel Effie, and a lot of different rental units throughout the property. They also provide your club memberships. A lot of, I think one of the designations is Owners Club. And we get a lot of calls in here about their Owners Club membership. Well, that doesn't come from the SOA. That comes from SDI. They provide, I guess, discount their homeowners to be those club members, or different amenities there. So that gets a little bit confusing for the new homeowners. SDI is a commercial Class B member of the SOA. And being a Class B member, they're afforded the same rights as a Class A member, which is or you, the homeowners. So, and also by virtue of the declaration of covenants and restrictions, they're also granted other rights that homeowners are not, such as the requirement to appear before ARB. They're not required to do that. So what is the SOA? Well, I'm sure you know who the SOA is, but we're going to include ourselves in this little presentation. We're the Master Association for Sandestin, and we serve the residential and the commercial members. With the exception of 2 swimming pools and 2 vacant parcels of land, we own no property. Those 2 parcels obviously are Reed Road, which we'll talk about later, and the admin site. We're not responsible for, nor do we have any authority to intervene in the operation of or otherwise manage any of the amenities owned by SDI. So why is that important? Sometimes we get calls in the office here that says, you're putting too many beach chairs down on the beach. That's not the SOA. That belongs to one of the other entities, the SDI or the Gulf or something like that. So we're not responsible for those beach chairs or docks at the marina, boards coming up on docks at the marina, anything like that is not the SOA's responsibility. The SOA assessments funds the common area landscape maintenance, security, trash collection, and the administrative function of the association. So I kind of equate it to this in other conversations. If it's fun stuff, it's probably not the SOA. If it's not so fun stuff like work, that's probably the SOA. And just keep in mind that $0 of your assessments are transferred to SDI or any other entity for that matter for operation of their amenity. And being a member of the SOA is required by virtue of living in Sandestin. However, being a member of SOA does not make you a member of any of SDI's many clubs that it offers or the Hilton or any other. It does not automatically entitle you to use property belonging to SDI or other commercial entities without its consent. And that's a very important topic right now with relations to beach access and use of the beach. So just keep that in mind. Who are they? The other part of the equation is our guests. We get concerns about the rights of guests and access to the property. In the declaration, in the definition part of the declaration, it defines who has access and use of the common property, and that states that members and their guests, lessees, or invitees, and the visiting general public. So when that is written in the Bible, if you will, we have to govern ourselves accordingly. So we get questions that says, how come this guest has the right to go down to the beach? Because they're a guest of the association and afforded those opportunities and rights within the declaration. An invited guest of a member, whether residential Class A or a commercial Class B, is afforded the same easement rights as that of an owner. Again, based on the declaration article 1, section 6. And under the terms of the declaration, the SOA has no authority to apply rules differently or deny access simply because an individual is a guest of a member. Now, if they're violating a rule, the declaration and the bylaws give us the right to deny access. But just by virtue of being a guest or invitee or a lessee, they have obtained those rights. We have other members, obviously, the Hilton, Bay Club, Sandestin 1 and 2, Embark, and Inspiration, Fairmont. Inspiration is a fractional ownership. I believe each unit has 10 different owners. Each pay their proportionate share to the SOA. But again, all these folks, guests, have easement and use rights of the property of the SOA common property, not necessarily the other entities, but certainly the SOA common property. And here's a fun fact that you may or may not know. Point of View Apartments, which is behind Grand Boulevard, and also Grand Boulevard, Applebee's, and the market shops all have conditional memberships of the SOA. However, their guests are not covered under the declaration as we just talked about. So just because you come to Grand Boulevard doesn't mean you have access throughout the. I thought that was kind of cool because a lot of people don't know that Applebee's is part of the SOA, but they've got a vote. We've put together some historical facts that kind of gives you a layout of how the relationships were formulated over the course of the years. I'm not going to read these word for word. Kitty can certainly pipe in here because she was instrumental in putting all this together. But the master plan was created in 1970, in the 70s. Links course was open. The main security gate was open. I believe there was a road going to the beach at that time. And there was a Sheraton Hotel on the Bayside. I think that was actually the site of the Bay Club, not the Bayside Inn. Yeah. So there's actually somewhere in this office a picture of the old Sheraton, and we also had a picture of a security guard standing at the gate with the Australian pith helmet and little shorts and high white socks. So that's kind of cute. But in 1978 is when Lakeland BD and the first declaration was created for the SOA establishing the association. And in 1981, the infamous Peter Boss bought the property from Lakeland BD, which led in 1984 to the construction of the Hilton. The market shops were built around that time, and so was the beachside guest registration. If you remember, if you're a long-term homeowner, we used to have 3 different registration points. We had a registration building on the south side, which is now the Sacred Heart medical facility there at the market shops. We had one on the north side, which was at Bayside Inn, and one at the Grand Sandestin. So way back in the day, people could check in at a lot of places. That made life at the main gate very difficult to try to get them where they needed to go. The golf course also was created then with the 3 9 holes, Troon, Dunes, and Harbor. If you ever played those are kind of cool. I think the one over on the beach that fits right now where Luau sits was probably the coolest hole in all of golf, because you could look out over the dunes and over Elephant Walk, if you remember Elephant Walk, and you could see out to the bay, and it was really pretty, and it's really high up on the hill. But that was back in the day, and we've been going from there. In 1991, Signed Darby purchased the property. That was a Malaysian conglomerate, and they installed and put in Burnt Pine Golf Course, and it opened for private play in 1994. Raven opened in 1990. I actually think that might have been 2000. 1999, 2000. 2002, the Village of Baytown Wharf, BWNA, was open to the public. And in 2005 was the kind of a milestone with the SOA. That's when transition took place. That's when control of the board was transferred over to the membership. And in doing so, the declarant at that time was Intrawest, retained 1 seat at the board of directors in perpetuity. And there is 6 homeowner representatives now, 2 commercial, and the declarant. That was a milestone in the fact that the membership now became in control of the destiny of the SOA. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the developer no longer had control of the funds, if you will. So owner funds were spent on owner common properties and other things from that point on. Mm-hmm. You may.
Please remember that's when Interest gave up exclusivity. They were the only operator within the resort for real estate rental and all of the amenities. So when that transfer happened, other owners could run those types of businesses within the resort, which is where we have third-party rental companies and third-party real estate.
Right. I'll repeat that just in case you didn't hear it, but at transition is when exclusivity was given up by the developer, Interwest, which allowed for the third-party rentals and Airbnbs, what Airbnb at the time, but all the other third-party groups to come in and begin doing business. So that was a key time in that period too for the developer. 2012, of course, we acquired the Reed Road property. 2010, Interwest transfers ownership to Mr. Becknell and SDI. In 2017, Mr. Becknell, prior to 2017, Mr. Becknell had to clean up his DRI and was in OPC, and subsequently the SOA opposed that, if you remember. And in 2017, we resolved that dispute, and he was able to get his NOPC approved. to the county to allow him to move forward with certain development rights. And in 2021, of course, last year, we got the admin parcel. So those are some historical facts that maybe if you shake all this up and pour it out, it kind of just breathes Sandestin on the table. But in doing so, we have developed different ownerships as well. And one of the big ones right now, as I mentioned before, is the beach. I have to be clear. The SOA does not own any beach. We have no sand past the coastal setback line, mean high water. We don't own anything. They're owned by the condos, or they're owned by the Hilton, or they're owned by SDI. What we do have is easement rights to portions of the beach. So on your screen here, you have these two red shaded areas are dedicated parking areas. The one on the left of the screen is 121C. Now 121C is slated for development. That is the Cascades parcel. When the Cascades construction begins, obviously that parking is going to go away. The parking will be referred to over to this area here, which is our easement parking area. This is an easement in perpetuity also. It does not have to be in this specific location, but it has to be 150 or 75 parking spaces granted for owners to get to the beach. These red lines indicate deeded easements. A deeded easement, unless agreed to by the parties, cannot go away. They have to remain there. As you can see, this is the owner's beach easement, if you will. This is the elephant walk. I'm sorry, beach house. I got stuck on elephant walk. The beach house easement. And we have the, we call it the Hilton easement. It's between the beach house and the Hilton. Down along the beach, I have identified each parcel by ownership. So you can see SDI, Sandestin Investments, owns here on the left side of the screen. That's the beach house, beach club and West Winds parcel. And we have South Winds 3. We have South Winds 1 and 2. We have SDI. We have Beachside 1. We have Beachside 2. And we have the SDI parcel, which is the beach house side. And we have the two Hilton parcels. Excuse me. And then we have beach villas. On each one of these where I have the red S, those are SOA accessible and use rights beaches. It's crowded, don't get me wrong, but you have the right to use those parcels. So Beachside 2, this SDI parcel here, this is the owner's beach, by the way, but SDI owns it. That's the one we call the owner's beach. And then down here at West Winds. So I hope that kind of clarifies, because a lot of people that ask where that beach is and who owns it and how do we get to it. Well, this is a snapshot of everything that we do and know about on the beach. So the amenities, we talked about the amenities, the golf course and tennis, SDI. We don't have any tennis or golf courses. The marina, and all good things going at the marina, that belongs to SDI. The beach club, where you can also get memberships, that's SDI. That's not the owners. That's, I think they call that the owners club. Owners Beach Club, whatever, but that belongs to SDI. The beach house and the Sunset Bay pool, those two pools, those are SDIs. I believe the Sunset Bay pool, the folks who live and own in Bayside Inn, they have use rights to that pool. The preferred beach parking. The preferred beach parking is inside the gates at the parking lot on the beach. In the summer, those gates are down and they actually have an attendant there now. That's the preferred parking, and you have to be some sort of business relationship with SDI to get that preferred parking. What we have is the two pools, the Audubon pool, which is over on the west, and hopefully soon we'll be doing some refurbishment and remodeling that pool to make it nicer, like the Phil Hummel Aquatic Center, which is over, excuse me, on the east side of the property. Rental management, SDI maintains over 900 rental units. There are third-party rental companies. We discussed that earlier. That happened in 2005. The gates were open for third-party rental companies to come in. They constitute the remainder of the rental units. We don't know exactly how many of those there probably are. There's probably around 1,500, somewhere around there.
I'd say closer to 2,000.
2,000 maybe.
So about half of them is by Sandestin and half of them are various third party companies. It's a good guess.
Yeah, so we're guessing about 2,000 total. But we don't actually have any data at this time.
Remember that every one of those units is owned by a homeowner and grants the right for rental management to the organization, whether it's Sandestin or third party.
Exactly. Roadways in Sandestin, those belong to the SOA with the exception of the ones that are on the top of my head, which are the fountains, the road into Inspiration, and a portion of Mike Hayes Boulevard. Mike Hayes Boulevard goes up to the marina. Any parking lot, condo parking lot, neighborhood common parking lot, those are not owned by the SOA. The landscaping right-of-ways, SOA, we do those. Some of the right-of-ways about the developer property or other neighborhood property, and that those instances we do not maintain that landscaping. And the monument signs along Highway 98 that we're working to try to change out, those all belong to the developer. And it sounds like we might be rekindling that. Hope so. So stay tuned for an update on the monument signs. We talked about the SOA budget and funding of other people's property. This is just a quickie to show you exactly the 22 budget. Security is 23%, admin's 32%, accounting and ARB is about 6%. Infrastructure 12, landscaping and irrigation is 14, beach and pool is 2%, sanitation 11. Now beach and pool, that's the maintenance of our two swimming pools and the cleaning of the beach of the parcels that the owners and membership have access to. Those properties that we claim that the owners and membership do not have access to, they pay for the linear footage of the beach to have that beach cleaned. I just thought of something though. We do contribute to 4th of July fireworks for the Hilton. We're in partnership with them on that. And we also, as you probably know, we pay to rent the trash site. So maybe in a roundabout way, we do give some money back. To wrap this all up, just by virtue of ownership at Sandestin, members of the SOA are not inherently entitled to use certain amenities that become members of the Sandestin's Owners Club. That's the SDI's Owner Club. All members of the SOA are entitled to access and use the beach as described herein and use the two pools that are owned by the SOA. And again, if there's any question on what beach that we have rights to, please let me know so we can clarify that for you and your guests. Your board of directors and I meet regularly and talk about these issues. We'll probably talk about in every board meeting in some form or fashion. The president, Ken Lloyd, he and I work together. When I get complaints or concerns, I go to him with them and we work through them. So I'm not keeping all this in a vacuum. We want to work with everyone to make Sandestin a better place, whether it's the developer, whether it's a guest, whether it's the members, whether it's visitors to the village, whether it's the village merchants. Because at the end of the day, when you come through that gate, that's your driveway, regardless of who you are or where you live on property, that's your driveway, and you want it to be appealing to you and every one of the rest. So we take actions to further our mission, which is to preserve and enhance the experience and the asset of the Sandestin community. So now we can open it up to questions, unless Kitty or Adam has anything. Good. We have some questions popping up here. And, question one is, you often speak about the 177 feet of beach. Is that any or all of the parcel you identified as SOA? So let me go back to that slide. somewhere there's a slide. The 177 feet of beach is this parcel right here. It says SDI. When SOA was granted the easement to use that beach, that was then owned by Intrawest. And at the time, Intrawest said it's out in the middle of nowhere. We have no intention of using it. Here's an easement. Just remember that we want to maintain our commercial privileges on that parcel. So fast forward to today, that ownership was transferred to SDI. That easement maintained, but it has sign exception or what is it, signs and sell something. Anyway, they ran with the land. So now Mr. Becknell owns it. We still have our easement, and they have the ability to do commercial vending on that site. That's not something we have any control over. We were afforded the luxury, or the membership was afforded the luxury over those years that it was never an impact, but they have exercised their right under that easement to specifically Hotel Effie umbrellas to use that section of the beach.
And at the request of a homeowner, SDI will provide
Yes.
umbrellas and food services if it's needed or wanted.
Yes, if any homeowner wants to sit in a beach chair, if they go to the beach attendant hut, they won't set them up in advance, but they will bring you a setup down there.
Make it available.
Make it available to you. Next question, is there any information relating to SDI's plan to develop Highway 98 facing Baytown Golf Course holes along Heron? Excuse me 1 minute. I can address that from today if you want. I myself and our engineer attended a meeting with Mr. Becknell at 11 o'clock this morning. Some of our drainage work that we have to do to take care of the stormwater system along Heron Walk will impact a portion of that parcel. Mr. Becknell said at this time he has no plans to develop that. That could change by 5 o'clock this afternoon. I don't know, but as of 11 o'clock this morning, he said that he doesn't have plans right now to do any development on that. So that's as hot bun out of the oven as I can give you on that subject.
If that decision did change, it would still take an awful long time to draft and draw plans and go through the approval process.
Right.
So we're still really far out in our way.
Yep. A lot of work to do before dirt gets turned there. Speaking of that, we had the improvements that we're going to make on Heron Walk. I'm going off topic since I have more questions, but some of the improvements that we're going to make along Heron Walk have been published, if you will, and discussed in the public that we're going to remove a whole lot of trees. Let me clarify something. Yes, the plan as drawn has a demolition plan that takes a lot of trees off of Heron Walk on the north side, not much on the south side, but on the north side between Heron Walk Drive and Heron Walk to Condo and Osprey Point. We don't want to do that, and we firmly believe that we have found a way around that after walking the site and looking at it. What the engineer drew up was the best case. We think we found an alternate. It's going to take some collaboration with SDI and Mr. Becknell with some easements, but we think we can salvage the majority of those trees. And if you saw the demolition plan, there was 25 or 30 trees that were supposed to be taken out. Some of them were the large pine trees. So stay tuned on that. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're still working on that. So next question, any update on the sale at Cascades and the likely timing of putting shovels in the ground? I will turn that over to Kitty or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You want to slide up there?
yeah, sure. While I'm not
Hang on, she's coming to the screen.
Hey, while I'm not intimately involved in that, since I'm part-time on the real estate side, I do stay tuned in. Currently, they are still taking pre-construction reservations. And when they hit the quota on that, they would proceed. I suspect it should be within the next couple of months. Of course, that entire industry is challenged with quotes for supplies and labor and equipment and that type of thing. So that all plays into the formula on when they actually can build it out. So that's all I have for now. I do think it's going to be a strong, fun, great addition to the resort, and I hope to see it happen soon.
On a side note to that, I did get a call that they have moved the sales trailer out, and I was asking.
New one coming.
Yeah, they were asking if that means construction was starting. So the only person I knew to answer that was Mr. Becknell, and his response to me was no, they're changing that trailer out to a new one. And if construction started, it would be like Kitty said, in the next few months. But he wanted to let the homeowners use that beach and that parcel through the meat of the summer. So if something happened, then you're probably right. It'll probably be the end of the month, towards the end of summer. So have no more questions. So I'm gonna stop video. I will look and see. Do we have any hands going up if y'all want to speak publicly too? Because we can unmute you and once we got live, I see no hands. Again, thank you guys for joining us for 30 minutes today. I don't have a topic for our next meeting, which is unusual. Usually I do, but we'll come up with something fun. If you have anything that you think we should speak to, please email me, let me know, and we'll come up with a program of the topic of your choice. And if we can do anything here at the SOA to help you, if I need to clarify anything that I've said in here, please reach out to me. I'll be glad to do so. I'm sure Kitty will make herself available as well. And don't forget golf cart parade, the 4th of July. 4th of July is a golf cart parade. Look forward to seeing everybody there. And I hope you all have a safe and enjoyable holiday.